Welcome, everyone. I go by the name of Camilio Salamander and my co-host KB the Mark.
Cause I'm a fucking mark for this shit.
You are watching the feature #1 wrestling podcast show on YouTube. With that being said, welcome to the DB podcast. So today we got a very special episode for you all. It's a Brodie Lee appreciation episode. So with that being said, KB, I'll go ahead and let you take over.
Thank you, Salamander. This is a very special episode to me. I have always been a John Huber fan, Luke Harper fan, Brodie Lee fan, and he really ignited that love for wrestling every time that I watched him in the ring. And I remember the day after Christmas when he passed, I just so happened to, go to a friend of mine's house just to chill, relax. And a lot of people that know me know I like Brodie Lee, calling me, texting me, hey man, you know Brodie Lee passed? Nah, I didn't believe it. And I got up there and I looked it up and it was true. And I'm not gonna lie to you, Salamander, it really hit. It hit home like it was personal. He was supposed to be coming back that week from an ankle injury, I believe. And to get the news, it was gut wrenching. Just I had gotten accustomed to seeing him on AEW television every week and Mondays on Being the Elite. Just the funny things that he was doing with the Dark Order members, and just watching him in the ring again, he looked like he was having fun. He was loving what he was doing. And he was only 41. He was 41. He still had a good 10 years in.
He was in his prime.
He was literally at the tail end of his prime and was looking phenomenal. And for it to be just taken from us wrestling fans, it didn't feel right. And it left a hole in my heart for wrestling, period, to the point to where that week I couldn't watch Being the Elite. I didn't want to watch Monday Night Raw. I didn't even want to watch AEW. I didn't want to watch anything wrestling related. I couldn't even play any wrestling video games because he's in them. And even just even remembering things about Brodie Lee, it hurt. Mm-hmm. And it took a while. It really took a while for me to be okay with this. This really hit close to home. But we want to take some time out today to appreciate Brodie Lee. And not just Brodie Lee / Luke Harper, but just the man himself. A family man. I don't know if you know this, but once he would do what he needed to do and Dynamite was over taping, he went back home to his family. When he won the TNT belt from Cody, he slid it under -1 Brodie Lee Jr.'s pillow. And his son woke up with the belt. He was more than just a wrestler. Wrestling was second to him. The love for his family. And that's not something you hear about in wrestling for real. And to me, it made him unique because you see him on television as this badass who really doesn't care as long as you get the job done. When he was running the Dark Order, he didn't care about anything but victories. And to know that the real Brodie Lee, John Huber, was a family man, it made me appreciate him so much more. And to be honest with you, Salamander, if I would have known that the dog collar match was his last match, I'm glad he went out with Cody Rhodes. The Rhodes family is synonymous with wrestling, and I'm glad he went out with Cody. 2, it allows me to appreciate that match so much more because that was his last match. You never know what you got till it's gone.
All right.
You can apply that personal and even business like. It just really put everything into perspective as wrestling fans. Here today, gone tomorrow.
I do want to point out at WrestleMania, Bray Wyatt, he actually gave like a little tribute to Brodie Lee by saying one of his slogans where he had his hands to his face and was saying, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do like that because I do know that they was like real close friends too outside of wrestling.
Oh yeah, it's crazy because Brodie Lee was friends with everybody. They would often say the only reason you don't like Brodie Lee or John Huber is because you don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved him. There's not one place he went where he wasn't loved. It's very rare that you can go to multiple people, multiple places, and you get the same story about the same person. Family man, super friendly, will give you the shirt off his back. He bought John Silver, which is one of the people in the Dark Order. He bought him matching ring gear for $1,000. Didn't even ask for it back. And it wasn't even for the ring. It was just stuff to do while they were on BTE. That's the guy that John Huber was. Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper, they've always been friends. That's probably why I'm more of a fan of Bray Wyatt than Eric Rowan. But he was friends with Eric Rowan too. And even on the tribute show to Brodie Lee, it was Eric Rowan who came in and made the save in the 6-man tag. And that just goes to show you how deep his influence was.
So let me ask you this. Which form of Luke Harper do you think was better? With the Wyatt family or as the Bludgeon Brothers?
I feel like Bray Wyatt made them unique, but it was something about the Bludgeon Brothers that I loved. Just those two wreaking havoc with the big sledgehammers. And the entrance was badass too. I feel like he did some of his best work though as Luke Harper with the Wyatt family. So I'm gonna lean towards the Bludgeon Brothers just because I do like that tag team of Rowan and Harper. But the Shield family, Luke Harper, he's a high number 2.
Yeah, I would say Luke Harper with the Wyatt family, because like everybody, if you've been watching, I love stables. So a real dominant stable that caused havoc on the main roster, that was it for me. So I like him better with the Wyatt family, but I also like him with the Bludgeon Brothers too. But I think he like you said, his most important matches and most of his good work was with the Wyatt family. That's most of it came from. But one thing, what's your top 3 matches from Luke Harper / Brodie Lee? It could be from any company.
Sorry. Top 3 matches. Number 3 will have to be Brodie Lee versus Dean Ambrose for the AEW Championship. I can't remember the pay-per-view offhand, but I believe Brodie Lee didn't win, and I believe he powerbombed Jon Moxley through the stage. And it was just hard hitting. And that's what I would expect from a Brodie Lee match, but Jon Moxley has been on so much of a tear over the past year and a half. Any match with Jon Moxley is a good match. Outside of their death match, which was a good match until the ending. Number 2 is the 6-man tag, the Shield versus the Wyatt family. Carnage. It's nothing great. It's nothing better than a great match that has a ton of carnage.
Yeah.
It just makes everything better. You knew with the Shield versus the Wyatt family, you were getting carnage. But I'm interested to know, what do you think about that match in particular before I get to my number one Brodie Lee
match? With the Shield, that was good. You know, it was typical. You know, the Shield match. It was good. You know, everybody was in their primes. You know, fresh off NXT, a couple years after getting called up or whatever. There was points that I do, if I can remember, there was points that I thought, you know, the Wyatt family was gonna take it, but then, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the Shield was gonna go over.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's gonna hit the power bomb. That Shield bomb. The match was good though, from what I can remember. I do believe that both stables really ended too soon. I would love to see, like when the Shield broke up, I think that was too soon. With the Wyatt family, I believe that was too soon too. They should have booked the Wyatt family more stronger, in my opinion, just because of what they doing. It's like a cult, like a cult type thing, and it's like, you know how Bray is now. Like, it should have been something on the lines of that. I believe like they should have been They should have been up there with the New Day, with title runs and all that stuff. Like, that's what I believe.
Understandable. They definitely should have been booked better. My number one Brodie Lee / Luke Harper match is the squash match against Cody Rhodes on a Saturday's edition of Dynamite for the AEW. I'm sorry, not the AEW, the TNT Championship. And he basically squashed Cody in 6 minutes, power bombs, discus clotheslines. And Cody, I believe Cody was on a winning streak. He hadn't lost in about, I think, maybe 4 weeks. So he was coming in hot, and he underestimated the strength of Brodie Lee. And, you know, once Brodie Lee gets his hands on you, that's pretty much it. And once he got his hands on Cody, he just dominated him for the match. Knocked him off a stretcher, hit him with a bag that contained the old TNT title. I'm sorry, not the old TNT title. No, it was a bag that had a broken TNT title in there. And it was just a great angle to write Cody off TV, not to mention the 6-minute squash match itself, in which Cody got very little offense. And it's something even now I can go back and watch, and I will feel just as good as I felt the night watching it.
So I would say mine's, you know, I'm more familiar with him in WWE than AEW. But my matches of his will mainly be the 2-1 versus Dolph Ziggler on Raw. And then the other one at TLC versus Dolph Ziggler. And then I would say my main one will be the one that at the AEW pay-per-view, because that was the first AEW pay-per-view I watched, because I did know them two, Jon Moxley and Brodie Lee. So I did know them two, and the match that when he powerbombed through the stage, yeah, that match was awesome. It just tells you, it's like, you know, I believe he got more popular in the other company. You know, he made it for him. He made a good name for himself. He left, and because to be honest, when they came out and like the WWE releases and he was on there, I thought he was gonna go to Impact or something. And like, you know, that was just gonna be it. I wasn't really expecting for him to really like make a name for himself, or to be on the same level like as a Jon Moxley or something like that. But he did it. And it just goes to show you that, man, he's just a hell of a worker. He is. He was able to get his gimmick over. Everything. He made people fall in love with him. People fall in love with the gimmick. The Dark Order is still strong.
Yeah, it was amazing. he literally took the Dark Order, who everybody was saying like, yeah, that this ain't what AEW thinks it is. He basically took that group from obscurity and molded them into a contained unit who can actually go and makes intriguing storylines. And even just the work that he would do on BTE with the Dark Order, and that's what really got him over. He had a gimmick on BTE where basically Evil Uno, who is like under him, is supposed to check the recruiting emails. So he comes in like yelling, and he's like 40,000 fucking emails, and he's like, this is your fault, and he's just smacking Alex Reynolds and John Silver. And you know, that stuff is like comedy, they do it for YouTube. So if they mess up, he'll be like, are you crying? Like, and he'll just smack him in the face, like, are you crying? I'm like, bro, I would have never knew John Huber was this funny. I mean, this man is hilarious. And then he always keeps papers in his suit jacket. He was always in a suit. And that's what made the Dark Order look legit. The leader who looks like a businessman.
Right.
And he always kept some rolled up papers in his jacket, and he would just hit him. He would just hit people with them, like people in the Dark Order with him. And I'm like, yeah, I would have never thought that getting rolled sheets of paper over on YouTube would be the funniest thing ever.
I do, not to cut you off, but I do like how he was like in WWE. You know, Bray Wyatt was leader, and he was one of the followers basically, and then he was able to lead WWE and have his own stable where he's the leader. And not only is he the leader, he got himself over, the group over, and all of the members over too, which is a good thing. That's what true leadership does. That's what true wrestling legends do. You know, they work even in a losing effort, they still get you over. Even like that match with him and John Moxley, he lost, but he still looked good. You know, he lost, but he still looked good. That's just it. Like when you just got that touch, you got that touch, and he had that touch, and he touched everybody's heart. When he passed everybody, like that was a moment like in the wrestling world, everybody stood still.
Yeah, it felt like that too. And I agree with everything he's saying. Like the best thing about being a wrestler to me, I would think, is getting somebody else over, making somebody else a star. Because somebody would have done it for me. But yeah, I think that week after he passed, or the week starting Monday after he passed, the wrestling world, it just stood still. And it seemed like nothing in the wrestling world made sense at this point. And you just really, I mean, you even saw it. Xavier Woods, I believe, did a discus clothesline that Monday night, and they were wearing, stuff appreciating for Brodie Lee, the RIP Brodie Lees and everything else. And even Vinnie Mac let that go. That just goes to show you the person he was and how he was respected over there in WWE. And that's what we might rag on WWE a lot, but it's stuff like that. It's the little stuff that we'll overlook as fans, but Vinnie Mac allowed that because that's how respected he was in that company.
Right.
He didn't leave on bad terms. I'm pretty sure if he was still alive and he said, I've done it here in AEW, I want to go back and right the ship in WWE, I'm pretty sure Vinnie Mac would have been okay with him coming back.
Yeah, he would have came back if that was the case. He would have came back. I think he would have been strong. Like they would have had to book him strong. They would have had to put the world title on him.
Oh yeah, and the thing is, I think he was scheduled to become a champion, the AEW champions, probably sometime this year.
Yeah, he had to be. He was on the road, and then on top of that, like if he would have came to WWE, like can you imagine like if he had his own little version of the Dark Order, or the something that they can do with just his character, a new character that he would bring into WWE versus the Fiend, like on top of something they could have put together and everything. Man, One thing I
the guy.
can say, that's a legend that was gone too soon.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, the guy knew his stuff. I remember when Bray Wyatt when Bray Wyatt was the champion and Randy Orton was, he had burned down the compound.
Yeah.
Remember that? Brodie Lee was like, he was trying to tell the writing staff, like, guys, the way you're writing this, you're going to get me over in the end because the fans are going to see that I'm the only person who sees that Randy Orton is a snake. And, they were like, no, you won't get over. And even, I know a lot of people who said Brodie Lee should have been in that championship match. And he should have won the championship that night from Bray Wyatt.
For his time in WWE, if that was going to be a moment that was going to put the belt on him, it made sense, man.
Yeah.
Because it was a realistic moment that he could have won.
Yeah. I mean, and it is an opportunity missed. But, then he comes to AEW and he has a run with the not the AEW, the TNT Championship, and you're like, he could have been doing this in WWE. Like, and then you might say, well, he was doing that. He was a mid-card champion. To me, as a guy who watches AEW, and I do see the TNT Championship is the mid-card title, but it didn't feel like the mid-card title when Brodie had it.
You know why? It's all about booking and storylines. I'm telling you. The storyline makes sense and the booking is correct, you can produce a miracle. You can produce anything. That's what I'm telling you. That's why it worked for him in AEW, because WWE wouldn't book him like that. It would take him to go to AEW to make a name for himself for him to even get the respect. And not saying they don't respect him, but the respect on the booking side, and to be booked strong as a potential main event, he would have to go out and make a name for himself somewhere else. Just like everybody else. Like everybody else who got released during the same time, they got to go out and make a name for themselves if that's what they're trying to do. But if that's what your go-to is, you want to be in the WWE, then that's what you got to make it. That's it. You just got to make a name for yourself. That's it. You get the AJ Styles treatment. You make a name for yourself outside.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And you're right too, because if you book it right, your mid-card title can be in the main event and nobody would bat an eye.
Right.
And that's what Brodie Lee with the TNT Championship felt like. He just felt like the mid-card title felt higher than a mid-card title. It felt like it could be up there in contention with the top belt in AEW, and that was because of how Brodie Lee elevated that belt. And that's what you need superstars to do if you want to eventually have them go for the big one. You have to see how they elevate that mid-card title. Yeah. And storylines help. Storylines definitely help.
Because I was thinking, like, one thing I like about AEW, they really show you that they don't need that world champion to be in the main event. Like the one episode I watched, ain't Kenny Omega the champion right now?
Yes.
Yeah, so the one episode I watched, Kenny Omega, he wrestled first.
And then, the match against Matt Sydal.
Yeah. So I was like, like they show you in the main event was even better. Like the main event was the best match of the show and stuff. So like I like how they show it like so versatile it is. Like, just like I said, it's all about booking and the storylines. That's really if you tell a great storyline, you can get anything over. Anything. I mean, they proved it. But Chris Jericho with a pen, the clipboard, they got that over by you just tell the storyline. Brodie Lee, it's something about paper. Paper is over.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, he got over a rolled up sheets of paper. And when you allow your wrestlers to be their authentic self, there are times where you strike gold. They got like I said, I never knew Brodie Lee could be this funny. And then John Silver just started getting over because of Brodie Lee. and all of their antics on BTE, and then that translated to Dynamite. Tony Khan was watching BTE and was like, I didn't know you could be this funny. He was like, yeah. Tony Khan's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna need you to do that every week, and literally got John Silver over. Like, that's the staple of a great wrestler. A legend can get others over. People who you wouldn't expect to get over, he helped get them over, and that was Brodie Lee.
A legend at best. A legend at best. Did you see him getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in the future?
If they do, I will wonder if it's going to be genuine, because he's never held a major title there. I mean, he hasn't held the big one. I'm sorry, I think he's an Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion. He might be a U.S. champion as well. My question would be: is it authentic? Is it just because he passed, or is it just because you guys were going to induct him anyway? And if you weren't going to induct him anyway, I don't want you to just put him in there for name's sake.
Right.
I'm going to respect it if they do, because that's just the love I have for Brodie Lee.
I think if they do, it will be probably like with the Wyatt family, like as a stable with them.
Yeah. Okay.
I
now
can see that happening.
Yeah. Now, if you want to do that, that's fine. I like that. If you're putting him in there and he's going in with the Wyatt family, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. But Brodie Lee, he just a legend at best. Gone too soon. Left in his prime.
Listen.
Yeah, so they was giving us a little dazzle of him. You know, tragedy struck. But not all the best ones early.
We do. I remember watching the memorial show, and that might have been my first time actually watching, like, full-fledged paying attention to wrestling, because I did watch the shows after he passed.
Right.
Like, I watched Monday Night Raw, and then I believe AEW Dynamite was that following Wednesday, the memorial show. But I'm not gonna lie to you, Salamander, I watched Brodie Lee alone. Like, I didn't want to be bothered. I had tissue there just in case. But I actually did feel myself tearing up a couple times. And the first match, watching Colt Cabana come out there with eyes bloodshot red, you just could tell the emotion in the house was different. And even seeing his son, Brodie Lee, crack MJF in the head with a kendo stick.
I was just about to say, when they brought his son out, that was sad.
Like, it was beautiful. And even his son putting the do-rag and the boots down for Brodie, and even the tribute, I really walked away feeling like I'm gonna be okay. Yeah. And that goes to show you how great the show was, and even everybody else afterwards talking about it, like, this is one of the greatest shows I've ever seen, like one of the greatest tribute shows I've ever seen, and it's up there. That Eddie tribute show was good.
Yeah,
the Eddie tribute show was good. The Brodie Lee would be a number 2. WWE, and it's only because WWE is WWE. Like, the Brodie Lee tribute is a high number 2. Eddie will always be number 1. But that tribute show, Salamander, the highs and the lows, and just seeing how every Dark Order member was involved that night. Perfect, I want to say 5-0 or 6-0 sweep. To seeing John Silver hit the discus clothesline to win it, and doing the Brodie Lee, to seeing him collapse in the ring and just crying, and he couldn't contain it anymore. to the last bit and the tribute video, in which he paid for the rights to the song. Tony Khan did. So they can play that tribute anytime. It can be on YouTube for as long as it needs to be. I really walked away feeling I'm going to be okay. It is smart. I really walked away feeling like I'm going to be okay. AEW made me understand. I stepped out and I told my significant other that, because she was like, how'd it go? And I was like, I'm going to be okay. And isn't that what you want to feel as a wrestling fan at that moment after watching a tribute show?
Yeah, but I do know, like, that's one of the shows, like, I won't watch. Like, if it's something like, if I go back and watch like a retro show of AEW or even WWE, I will skip that, because that would bring tears to your eyes instantly and stuff. So it was like, because that is one of the, that's one of the episodes that you gotta sit there with tissue, because you gotta prepare yourself, try to hold back some tears, because the whole show is sad and stuff. Even like just being proud for everyone who went over and everything, it still was just a sad, like, this for Brodie and everything.
Listen. I understand and I agree with you, but you learn one thing that night. You learn where the hard cam was, because everybody had to do the Dark Order, and it's like, this is where the hard cam is, right here. When you looking at hard cam, we need to see all the bloodshot eyes. Yeah. They learned, they knew it. And that's what you want, honestly. You just want to walk away from something as big. Like, can you imagine if social media had been as big when Eddie died?
Big.
As big as it is now, and how it was for Brodie. I can only imagine what it would have been for Eddie.
Yeah, that would have broke the internet.
Yeah, that would have broke the internet. But you learn the hard cam that night. You learned where the hard cam was, and you just walked away feeling like it's okay to be a wrestling fan. This stuff happens. I don't know how it seeped over into the personal side, but it did. That's what happens though. Like you said, when you have a legend, when you have somebody that good. It was Brodie Lee, Luke Harper.
Man,
the guy shooting the arrow.
I could see AEW developing the Hall of Fame, and he will be one of the first inductees.
He should be the first. He should be the first. If they get a Hall of Fame, it shouldn't even be a question who the number one inductee is, and that's Brodie Lee. You ought to name it after him, honestly.
Yeah, that'd be good.
AEW's, Brodie Lee / AEW's Hall of Fame. Like, something along those lines.
Right.
Like, that's what it should be, and he should be number one.
But then something off of, like, the WWE got the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Like, something like that.
Yeah, they were. I did hear some other people talking about that. Like, if you don't want to name an award after, you can maybe do like a tournament or like a single match or I think they said a tournament. Basically, you call it the Brodie Lee tournament, Memorial Tournament. Winner gets a shot at the TNT title.
Right.
He's regarded as the greatest TNT champion, and that belt ain't even been around that long. And nobody will ever touch Brodie Lee because of how he won it and how he elevated that TNT championship. It's so sad. He probably would be getting ready to win the AEW World Championship, probably towards the later half of this year.
Right.
And he was taken from us. He was supposed to be coming back. I remember the weeks before, like a couple weeks before, he was supposed to be coming back. We were anticipating his return anytime soon, only to find out that he had been sick for a while. And this is,
you could never tell. You couldn't even tell. Like, he wouldn't even let you to see. Like, you didn't even know that he was battling what he was dealing with for a while. You didn't even know.
No, and here's the beauty of AEW. You know how not this is the beauty of AEW. They're such a tight-knit group. There were no leaks about it. You didn't even know he was sick. We were all just assuming he was rehabbing his injury and set to come back. Nobody told you, none of that information leaked, that he was sick, that he was in the hospital, that he literally was about to go into the end of life situation. The only information you found out is that he passed the day after Christmas.
Right, that's nothing at first. It just said non-COVID related.
Yeah, like it wasn't COVID. It was.
Yeah, they made it known it wasn't that.
Yeah, but you see the love in that company.
Right.
You see the love for his family, to keep that information bottled in and to not leak it out of respect for his people. And it was only a couple people in WWE who knew too. And it didn't even find out. It didn't even leak out of that company. That's respect.
Right.
That's the respect that Brodie Lee commanded.
Right. All right, guys. That's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the D&B podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until then, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
R.I.P. Brodie Lee.